Star Trek, the ultimate franchise. These are the podcasts of the Wakefield brothers. Their 16-year mission to watch every production, to seek out life lessons and new inspirations, to boldly watch like most fans have watched before. Welcome back to Temporal Directive, the Star Trek fan podcast rewatching the entire Star Trek franchise in chronological order. I'm Gary.
And I'm Tom.
And this week, we're watching Star Trek Enterprise's Strange New World. This week's episode was written by Mike Sussman and Phyllis Strong, directed by David Livingston, who was a producer on Next Gen, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager. And he actually directed 47 episodes before he got onto this one, and then went on to do 14 episodes more on Enterprise. So
how many episodes did he?
He did 47 across TNG, DS9, and Voyager.
Wow, okay, good, yeah.
This episode aired October 10th, 2001. Do you remember Strange New World?
Not even in the slightest.
Okay. I'll read the IMDb synopsis.
Righto.
The Enterprise encounters a new world much like Earth. A small crew stays on the surface overnight to continue researching the planet. A violent storm forces the crew to shelter into a local cave, but crew members believe they are not alone. Boom, boom, boom. That doesn't ring any bells?
Not really, no.
So I kind of remember this one. I think I remember being really frustrated at, again, some of the decisions Archer makes because he's such a fresh captain. And I think this is the episode where they're in the cave and they're paranoid with each other and they're sort of hallucinating and stuff. I think it's that episode. But it has been a while since I've watched Enterprise, so I guess we'll find out in a minute. Yeah, all right. Well, that was a really quick intro, but let's go watch the episode, yeah?
Yeah, righto. Sounds
all right.
Good.
We'll be back in a minute, everyone.
Just didn't have the same graphic.
It doesn't quite have that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not a Q. And we're back. That was Strange New World, Tom. What are your first thoughts?
Painful. Very painful. I don't know whether I can do this for another couple of years.
I got frustrated with some of the decisions that some of the crew made, but I think the paranoia hallucination kind of storyline was okay. That was kind of fun.
I think the storyline is like the story idea is great. I think it's a really good one. Like what happens when you get onto an alien planet, and that is a good possibility of what could happen. I think the idea is fantastic. The execution, not so much.
Okay. Do you want to explain? Do you want to expand on that now, or should we get into the episode?
Get into the episode. No one wants to hear one long rant.
Well, this episode opens in the mess hall with two new crew members we haven't seen in the previous episode. So that's Ethan and Crewman Cutler. So Crewman Cutler looks familiar. She's played by Kelly Waymire. And she has a recurring role in this season, I think maybe 3 or 4 episodes, but passes away. I thought she was really good in this episode, and I know I've seen her in other things, but I can't place her.
No, but she is prevalent, especially around that time period. She was definitely in other things.
So the two crewmen are eating, talking about termites and Vulcan cuisine, and they get distracted because a planet shows up outside the window. So everyone in the mess hall rushes over to the windows to look out at this Earth-like planet. It looks blue and green, just like Earth. Everyone's excited. Everyone in the mess hall's talking about, do you think, is that snow I can see on the mountains? Do you think there's people down there? Everyone's really excited.
Why weren't we told? What's going on?
Yeah. And then we cut to the bridge, and they say there's no life signs, there's no satellites in orbit, anything like that. T'Pol says that there's oxygen on the planet, and then immediately Archer's like, prep a shuttle.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah, that's it.
That's it? That's as much prep as you're going to do before you go down to an unknown planet? This is the first alien planet you've encountered that can theoretically sustain life. The first planet you come to, and you're like, fuck it, let's go.
Yeah.
If we die, we die.
That's it. Jump into a shuttle, open the door.
And he takes his dog.
I know, isn't it the worst? We both looked at each other in that episode going, what the fuck? Because the shuttle opens and his dog jumps out, runs across the green grass going, straight to a rock.
He goes straight over to a tree and pees on the tree.
Yeah.
And then Trip says, where no dog has gone before.
Oh my God.
Cringe.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know they're trying to be funny or they're trying to be cute or something, but
Yeah.
it was cringe.
Yeah.
Maybe it was funny 24 years ago. I'm not sure.
I don't remember laughing back then either. It's just fucked. It's just you don't take your dog. You don't do that. Like your dog can get eaten. Dog could eat something and die. Like it's so fucking stupid.
It's such bad science.
Yeah, it's just dumb. Even thinking that this is the first human ship in space, even humans 24 years ago wouldn't have been that fucking stupid to have done that. Like, it is just dumb to have thought that in 100 years' time we're going to be that stupid. Like, it just baffles me that is what they did.
T'Pol even says if this was a Vulcan ship, we'd spend a week studying before we went down there.
Exactly.
And Archer says, well, we didn't come here to probe. I know you have a more cautious approach. More cautious? More cautious?
Yeah.
At least there's some safety concerns about the crew.
Exactly.
Like, if you wanted to go down by yourself, Captain, go right ahead. Put yourself at risk.
Yeah, exactly.
But order crew members to come down to an unknown planet with you.
Just ridiculous.
And look what happened.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's evident that is not a good idea.
Ugh. But right from the start, ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. Pathetic.
Well, okay. Sorry. That was a bit of a rant.
What we're here for.
Sorry, everyone. So Archer makes a poor decision and decides to go down to the planet, taking his dog, and they explore for a little bit. Crewman Cutler sees some giant tadpole things in the water, and everyone else is walking around. Whatever that guy's name is,
Ethan, was it?
Ethan, he's sniffing the flowers, and I know you and I both were like, puppies.
Yeah.
Which is exactly where this thing comes from. So, it makes sense. Anyway, So Archer and Travis and Trip are walking around talking about Travis being a boomer, and then Archer gets a call from T'Pol, and T'Pol's like, is something wrong, Captain? And he says, no. Why? And she says, because we were meant to meet 15 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And then Archer has a bit of a giggle like, sorry, we must have lost track of time.
Yeah, 15 minutes. She even gave them 15 minutes and he wasn't back at the ship. Like, I was fucking pissed because he's the captain. He's the fucking captain. He's the one who's meant to be back there showing people that he's doing the right thing and that all the other fucking people should be there. I was pissed because this is what he's meant to be doing. This is the stuff that he's meant to be in charge of. And she gave him 15 minutes and then he's laughing at her as if she's the one that's doing something stupid. I was pissed. I was fucking pissed.
It's not good leadership.
No, it's not. It's not good leadership, and it just goes to all his bad decisions and what does all over the place. As a captain, this is fucking pathetic. Like, it's just stupid.
Not even as a captain, just as any sort of leader. Like, if you're going to have guidelines and expectations, then the person in charge needs to live by example.
Exactly.
And should be the first person back, and certainly should not be laughing at someone else calling them out for not following the rules or following the expectations.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is poor
It
leadership.
was completely pathetic. I lost my shit even as we watched the episode. As you know, I was like, what the fuck is he doing laughing at that? Like, I was livid.
I mean, if the roles had been reversed and it was Archer standing there waiting for T'Pol and T'Pol was late, I imagine that he would be quite irate about that.
Yeah, he would be making some snarky comment about pointy-eared people.
Yeah.
Because you know he would, because he's done it in the past.
And also because all the humans on this ship seem to be racist against Vulcans.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that'd be like, don't have timepieces on Vulcan or some shit like that. Like, you know that it would go completely opposite. Like, it's ridiculous. It just really grinded my gears, as people would say.
Yep. Yep. But anyway, moving on. So after a couple of poor leadership decisions on behalf of the captain, Archer and the others go back to the group, and T'Pol says that they've found some nocturnal marsupials that she wants to spend the night on the planet studying with the two newbies, Cutler and Ethan.
Yep, because that's their field of expertise.
Correct. But Trip and Travis decide to stay because they want to have a camp out.
Yeah, of course.
Makes sense. And Paul says, this is a study. This is work, not recreation. And Archer kind of says, well, we can do both. Why not both?
Why not? Of course. What could
Why
go
not?
wrong?
So anyway, they decide to stay. Fine. So it cuts to night. They've lit a fire. They're sitting around. There's fireflies in the air. And Travis is telling a ghost story about an old ship, and I thought that scene was kind of cute.
Yeah.
Like it was nice. It was a nice scene.
Yeah, and I think the writing on the actual ghost story was actually quite good. Like, I thought someone actually put good amount of time into coming up with a ghost story that someone would tell in the future. I thought that was quite clever.
It really felt like an urban legend for the future, didn't it?
It did. It felt like it fit really well.
It was good. Ethan says that he's got a headache and excuses himself and goes to have a lie down before they keep studying. And then Cutler realizes that all the fireflies have gone, and then suddenly the wind picks up and there's a massive storm coming in that apparently no one had seen before.
Yeah, no one had warned them about or anything.
No. So they all retreat to their tents to try to get some sleep through the wind, but they're all still awake, just sort of lying there listening to the wind and hoping for the best. And then Trip and Travis are sharing a tent, and Trip says, "Oh my God, there's something in my sleeping bag," and jumps up, and there's a bug that crawls out. And I don't know about you, Tom, but to me that looked like the bugs from that Next Gen episode Conspiracy, like those little scorpion things that would have the little spike on the back of people's necks. It looked like that.
It did. It very much looked like one of those. I don't know whether they ever named that species or not, but I know the one you mean. And yeah, it really looked like one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the first contact with humans was there.
Maybe. But again, this is another part where I get frustrated with the decisions of a newbie captain. He leaves these people without a shuttle.
Yeah. Yep, without a shuttle.
Without a way to get back to the ship.
Yep.
Had they left a shuttle, instead of going into the caves when they all panic when the wind gets real bad, they could have got into their shuttle and went home. What the fuck? Why would you leave people on the planet with no way of getting home?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's so many different scenarios. They didn't scan the planet before they got there.
No.
Anything could fucking happen.
Yeah, well, that's right. Like anything. Absolutely anything.
I don't understand.
No, me either. Illogical.
I think the Vulcans were right. Humans are not ready for this.
They're proving it. They're absolutely proving it.
Okay, sorry. We're getting really ranty.
Don't be sorry. That's what we're here for. We're here
guess.
to rant. We're here to tell them what we think.
Okay, back to the episode. So they run into the caves. They realize that they left food behind and didn't bring any food with them. So Travis goes back out to get some food and finds one packet. And while he's out there, he sees what looks like, to me, it looked like people in Starfleet in the uniforms, Starfleet uniforms, walking around in the bushes. And he goes back and says, "There's people out there." And T'Pol says, "There's nothing on the scanner, so, you cray." Well, she doesn't say that, but you know what I'm saying. Ethan thinks he can hear people talking in the caves, wants to run away, and Trip says, "No, you need to stay here and calm down." But he doesn't. He runs off. He runs outside, out of the caves, and into the wind and the storm. So Trip and Travis chase after him to go and try to find him, leaving T'Pol and Cutler in the caves. T'Pol grabs a phaser to go exploring. If there are people here, I want to go find them. and Cutler kind of follows T'Pol behind a little bit, so T'Pol doesn't really know that she's behind her. Trip and Travis are trying to find Ethan out in the fields or whatever, and they find a big rock, and Trip sees this creature come out of the rock like they were made of rock, like rock people,
like a humanoid figure, and just
like
pushing itself out like something out of a haunted mansion.
I don't know if you've ever seen the deleted scenes from Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, but there were some rock people in that.
Yeah, well, I think Galaxy Quest is the first thing that comes to mind, right? It's just a rock.
Yeah. Okay. Travis and Trip are walking around trying to find Ethan and almost fall into the Grand Canyon that no one knew was there.
Not only flying in, but the whole day of exploration that they've had, no one mentioned
the Grand fucking Canyon.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Ridiculous.
God, we are negative today.
Uh-huh.
So Cutler is following T'Pol in the caves and sees T'Pol talking to some people. And then when T'Pol comes back around the corner, she says, "Who were you talking to? Who were they?" And T'Pol says, "Oh, I don't know what you're talking about. I wasn't talking to anyone. There was no one there." And this is where the paranoia hallucinations get ramped right up. Everyone just sort of goes real nuts. And a lot of it has to do with racism. There's so much anti-Vulcan sentiment in everything that pretty much all of these other characters say, except maybe Travis.
So heavy-handed on that, isn't it, really?
It's so close to the surface that, any kind of little excuse, you're going to be anti-Vulcan. Anyway, the storm gets worse. Archer decides to go and get them with the shuttle. Yeah. Archer and Reed head down in a shuttle to pick them up, but the wind is terrible and they just can't land. They damage the shuttle and they have to go back to the ship and they leave them there. So they're stuck.
Yep.
Needless to say that the paranoia ramps up and up and up as it goes. Ethan never goes back to the cave. He's out in the woods somewhere, but they're tracking him on Enterprise. They're tracking his biosigns. They're trying to reach him on the communicator, but he's not answering. They decide that they're going to use a transporter to beam him up. But when they do that, because the transporter is still a new technology and the wind, they can't separate the debris and Ethan. So when he materializes on the transporter pad, there's bits of plant coming out of his body and it looked nasty.
Oh, it looked painful.
It looked painful.
Yeah.
It looked good.
Oh, yeah. They've done a bloody good job. Yeah.
But, it looked really painful. So he's off to sickbay and everyone else is still on the planet, still getting paranoid. Trip's getting more and more agitated. He pulls a gun, points it at T'Pol a couple of times. T'Pol's trying to talk him down. It's just not working. Phlox says there's a psychotropic drug in Ethan's system, and that's what was causing the hallucinations, which means everyone on the planet is going to be exposed to this drug. But they just need to basically get through the night, come back to the ship, and they'll be fine. But after a couple more scenes of paranoia on the planet, then find out that Phlox was actually a bit wrong there, that the drug, as it leaves the system or breaks down in the system, it actually releases another toxin which could be deadly. So they need to get some medication down to the away team ASAP. They transport it down, but Trip and T'Pol and everyone is too paranoid and too in their hallucinations to deal with it.
To understand a damn thing.
Yeah. So Archer and T'Pol and Hoshi go along with Trip's delusion to get him to drop his gun so that T'Pol can stun him with the phaser and then inoculate them to save the day. And then they wake up the next morning and everyone's fine. And Trip apologizes and
realise it was all a load of bullshit.
Yeah. So now that we've talked it through, what are your final thoughts?
I didn't like it.
Not at all?
No, not really. Like I said, the concept was good. The execution wasn't great. Captain made some bad decisions and crew made some bad decisions and the acting was terrible. And I have no. It doesn't encourage me for the series. Like again, it's like two blows. The first episode was really good. Last episode, yeah. This one, yeah.
I enjoyed this episode more than I enjoyed last week's episode.
I would probably say the same, but only again because of the concept more than anything.
Yeah, I didn't hate this episode. I enjoyed it more than last week's episode. I agree. The decisions that Archer makes are so poor. They're worse than what we would do now. So how can someone 100 years from now who's got such an important obligation to humanity not have the brain capacity to make reasonable decisions?
Exactly. And he doesn't grasp them. Like, he doesn't think about it. He just does them. Like, he doesn't grapple with them or anything. At least, even in the last one, at least he sort of, you could see that he was thinking about it and struggling with it. Like, his character was actually dealing with that, and he actually done a good job at acting that as well. Like, you felt that he was having struggles with that. This one, he was like, I'm going to take my dog with me down to the planet. Like, oh my fucking God. Just bad.
He must hate his dog.
Yeah, he must.
So yeah, anyway, there were some things I didn't like about this episode, but yeah, I did enjoy it more than I enjoyed last week's episode. As far as fitting this episode into the wider franchise, T'Pol refers to this planet as Minshara class, which is the full term for M class, which is a very common phrase in Star Trek, meaning that it supports human life. And yeah, we've never heard it called Minshara before. This is where it comes from.
Yeah, which is news to me because I just thought it was all normal. I thought M-class planets and stuff and all that rating was just what the actual real world called it, but apparently
did you think that was a NASA term?
Yeah, I did. I thought that was reality.
No, that's Vulcan.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you're a fan, but
yeah, no,
it's
just
good not to blur reality with fiction. What's our life lesson for this week?
Don't make stupid choices. Probably not that.
Do a fucking survey before going down to a fucking planet.
So the life lesson is to ground what you just said would be know the situation and before you jump in. So
Yeah, okay.
don't jump in with, don't just jump in.
Sure. That is probably a nicer way of saying do
Yeah.
a fucking survey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go with that.
But yeah, no, the life lesson there is really don't leap before you know what you're leaping into, right?
Yeah.
That's what I got from this episode. Whether that was the intention of the episode, I'm actually not sure, because no one seems to really feel bad about the decisions that they're making. But as an outsider and not part of the crew, all I saw was mistake, consequence.
It's a good one, and I'd agree with that entirely.
There was a line that Tripp said at the end of the episode when he was doing his little apology.
Yeah. I thought there was a line at the end, but I couldn't remember what it was. I didn't write it down, unfortunately.
I did write it down, and it was, challenge your preconceptions or they'll challenge you.
Yeah, and it doesn't fit the episode. Like, that fits what he was imagining.
That
in
fits his
head,
delusion, yeah.
but it doesn't fit the episode.
Sure. Yeah, I agree. Okay, well, let's rate it out of 10 for IMDb. So just as a reminder, our examples of a 1 episode are Threshold from Voyager and Next Gen's Code of Honor. And our examples of 10 episodes are Next Gen's Tapestry and DS9's Far Beyond the Stars. With that in mind, where would you rate this one?
I think last week I gave it a 3. So
Correct.
This one's slightly better than that because of the story. So I'd go a 4. Yeah, no, I'd go a 4.
Yep. I am not going to argue with you. I have no other opinions.
Yeah. It's just too many
I
things.
think it was slightly better. I don't know if it's a full point better,
Yeah.
but I did enjoy it more than I did last week. So, yeah, I'm happy with a 4. Let's do a 4.
4. I'm happy to go 3.5 if you want.
We're not doing points.
No, that's what I was going to say. If we're doing points, I'm happy to go with 0.5. But if
No, full ranks only.
full ranks, then it's 4. Yeah.
All right, we'll leave it at a 4 then. Excellent. And that's it from us for this week, and we'll be back next week.
Righto.
We'll see you then. Live long and prosper.
Peace and long life.
Do you want to do it without laughing?